number one question I get about the tool read system is, how do I determine what percent of slope we're putting over? So I did a study on 100 players. 90 of them were able to assess the percent of slope very accurately with this method. So what we want to do, the first thing we think about is, as we're walking up to the hole, we're going to start thinking about where we're going to best assess the slope from. For 90% of the people, they're going to best be able to assess the slope halfway between the ball and the hole, looking uphill. You know, if you want to see how high a mountain is, you go to the bottom and you look up. This is going to be very similar to that. So now what we want to think about, and again, I get a lot of people who are saying, Ralph, I really have a tough time with this. And the mistake they make is they're focusing on a path between the ball and the hole. But we need some references. So what we're going to do, we're going to look higher to number one and then lower to number two. And we're say, okay, what's higher, number one or number two? What's higher, number one or number two? What's higher, number one or number two? And for, again, 90% of the people, it's quite easy to see which is higher and by roughly how much. We've all played in a big tournament or had a club championship or a must-make putt, and we'll decide to do a 360-degree view of the hole. Now, if we come to this side and we're looking downhill, I get goosebumps just every time I see this. This looks much, much flatter. So on average, we're going to perceive this 25% flatter than it actually is. The bottom line is, there's no point in going over here. If we have to fix a ball mark, that's great, but we don't want to pay attention to it. So we're over here. No green is going to be uniform, especially anything over 4 or 5 feet. So what we want to do, we want to start thinking about which part of the putt is most important. As the ball slows down, the break is going to affect it much, much more. So this last third of the putt, we're going to want to overweight that. Kind of an easy way of thinking about it, if we cut this putt in half, if the first half is a 1% slope and the second half is a 3% slope, we'd overweight the second half, because as the ball slows down, again, the slope is going to affect it much, much more. So we would overweight that and call it like a 2.5% slope. That's how 90% of the people are going to be able to best assess the slope. You know, we've all seen this on TV. You know, being able to assess the slope over top of it is certainly a skill. Some people are very, very good at it. And, you know, if you're willing to dedicate some time to practicing it, it is a method that will work for a lot of people for sure. Again, in my study, it was about 10% of the people that were better at that. Kind of a good idea. If this is super important to you, try both methods and see where you slot in. But for most of the people, we're going to have our best view looking uphill and then looking on either side of the path of the putt, so we got a good reference of how much that putt's going to break.